Hello, and welcome back to my channel with your fave psychic medium, Danny. How are you guys doing? What's going on? Oh man, so as you can see, this video is a little bit different. I'm getting back into the cold case readings. My last two readings I released was on baddies, and I believe my Lotto or Dochi reading. I am gonna still keep doing my Rap Girl series, but I also been talking about restarting up my cold case series, and I have a few cold cases already prepped and set up. I've just been waiting for when I feel like it's the right time, energetic wise, for me to be diving into this. Cold cases are a bit heavy, and a lot of ones I've been doing have been pretty heavy, especially just with the insight I get, with the information I put out, how strategic I want to be with the information I give out, if it serves the best purpose of the reading. Yes, this is for entertainment purposes, but I want to make sure I'm being as respectful as possible. So, before we get into this cold case reading on Elizabeth Short, aka the Black Dahlia, let's do some housekeeping things. First of all, my name is Danny. I'm a psychic medium. And if you love this channel, if you love the content I put out, what I do my content on, how I approach my readings, and all the other things, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Along with that, I am a psychic medium that is currently doing personal readings. So if you're interested in a personal reading about your life, if you like this content so much, don't forget to check out my services and book with me at www.danielleclark.com. And one last thing, my goal is to get to 5,000 subscribers this year, y'all, and I need your help, your support, so that'll be very helpful. And last announcement, I'm going to Japan this month. It's about actually 20 days before I fly out. 20 days and some hours. Now, let's get into it.
The gruesome death of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short confounded Los Angeles investigators in the late 1940s and remained a topic of intrigue in the decades that followed. It was around 10 a.m. on January 15, 1947. Betty Bersinger was pushing her daughter in a stroller through the Leimert Park section of South Los Angeles when something caught her eye. Amid the weedy, vacant lots, a naked female body, severed at the waist, was lying just off the sidewalk. The stark whiteness of her skin offset by jet black hair and deformities like gashes carved from each side of her mouth. Bersinger dashed to a neighbor's house to call the police, igniting a frenzy that engulfed several divisions of the LAPD and reporters from the city's relentlessly competitive newspapers, and laid the groundwork for what became one of the country's most famous unsolved cases. An autopsy found that the victim had perished from repeated blows to the face, and the subsequent blood loss, the torso's bisection, and other mutilations at least, coming after she was already dead. As for identification, an editor of the Examiner suggested sending fingerprints via the paper's sound photo, an early fax machine, to an office in Washington, D.C., where they could be relayed to the FBI. By the evening of January 16th, authorities had matched the prints to those of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, who previously worked at an Army base in California and once been arrested for underage drinking. A phone call to Short's mother in Massachusetts brought more information about her background, while inquiries in nearby Long Beach uncovered the hook that became a staple of the front pages. The victim was known among acquaintances there as the Black Dahlia, a nod to her taste for black dresses and the previous year's crime film, The Blue Dahlia. Seemingly making headway in the case, investigators apprehended married salesman Robert Red Manley, who met Short in San Diego, and dropped her off at LA's Biltmore Hotel on January 9th, the date of her last sighting. Manley later identified one of the victim's shoes and a purse found at a crime scene, but his alibis otherwise checked out, and he was cleared of wrongdoing. In late January, an envelope labeled with cutout words and the phrase, "Heaven is here," arrived at the examiner's office. Inside was a collection of Short's personal documents, including her birth certificate social security card, and an address book, featuring the name Mark Hansen on the cover. Police tracked down approximately 75 men from the book, most of whom had only briefly met its owner, as well as Hansen, a successful nightclub owner. Hansen confirmed that Short had crashed at his home, an explanation that fit in with her developing profile as a drifter who relied on the sympathy of others, and he was also soon crossed off the suspect list. Meanwhile, authorities found themselves sifting through copycat letters from the alleged killer, listening to bogus confessions, and following up on other crimes that were potentially related, including the Red Lipstick Killer of February 1947, but inevitably found themselves back at square one. A newly emerged the following year when former LA resident Leslie Dillon, then living in Florida, contacted the police department about an acquaintance who may have murdered Short. Believing Dillon to be the actual killer with a split personality, LAPD psychiatrist Dr. Joseph Paul De River lured him west and had the members of the department's notorious gangster squad detain him to extract a confession. The decidedly illegal ploy was exposed when Dillon managed to sneak a note about his predicament out a window, however, while his supposed imaginary suspect friend turned out to be quite real and innocent. The mishap prompted Dillon's lawsuit against the city and the launch of 1949 grand jury investigation, which examined the efforts of law enforcement and the still inconclusive evidence. The jury disseminated without indicting a suspect, and by the following year, the Short mystery was cast adrift into the netherworld of cold cases. While its files were collecting dust, the Black Dahlia saga took on a new life in the literary world. John Gregory Dunne's True Confessions, released in 1977, loosely based on the murder, was followed by James Ellroy's The Black Dahlia, released in 1987, the fictional but compelling accounts of these and other works bolstering some unflattering myths about Short's personal life. A new crop of writers soon emerged to reveal their personal connections to the case, starting with Janice Knowlton's largely panned Daddy Was the Black Dahlia Killer, released in 1995. Former LAPD detective Steve Holdell presented a more convincing argument in Black Dahlia Adventure, The True Story, released in 2003, after discovering that his father George had been a suspect in the case. Fellow researcher Larry Harnish poked holes in his assessments, however, and Holdell's credibility took a hit when he also claimed that his dad was the Zodiac Killer. British author P.U. Eatwell later took a stab at cracking the case with 2017's Black Dahlia Red Rose, which revisited the evidence against Dillon and the possibility of an LAPD cover-up, with Holdell and Harnish among those who contested his findings. The book confirmed that the Holy Grail of New York mysteries would continue to generate controversy, really in a fascinated public event, as it resisted all efforts to extract a definitive resolution.
And these are the questions that I came up with that I would like to get answers to. With this case being so far back, it's only so many questions that I can think of to ask, and I want to get kind of as general as possible. That way I can build a story and get a lot of meat and potatoes. So my first question is, there's 5 questions altogether. Did Dahlia know her killer? The second one is, was this done by one person or a group effort? 3, possible motive. 4, insight on the killer, occupation, personality, physical attributes, or killers. And then 5, did the police do everything they can to find her? Let's get into it. This is the psychic cold case reading for the Black Dahlia murder. Dear honorable ancestors, for your guys, my family, I ask for permission and guidance as I do this reading, cold case reading on Inside the Black Dahlia Killer. Please assist me as I look into this. The first question is, did Dahlia know her killer? Did Dahlia know her killer? Yes, I see hand holding. It was a love interest. Nine of clubs. It was a love interest. It could have been an older man, someone she was dating. Maybe it was in secret. He's older. He and the card I have is nine of clubs. He comes off as sophisticated, someone to teach her things. I see holding hands, walking through the park. Maybe someone who played games with her, who taught her certain games. But this is someone that was pretty wound in her career. Okay. What more insight was? Because she knew him, but how? What context? Two of diamonds. Yeah. Her career. This was someone that was involved in her money. Someone that often gave her advice, gave her insight, was set to lead her and guide her. But it turned into a romantic thing. All right. Yeah. Mm. So I think this leads into my second question to answer. Was this done by one person or group effort? This was done by one person, but it took a group effort to Queen of Hearts. It took a group effort to hide it, to get rid of her body, to dispose of it. Queen of Hearts. What this is telling me, the person that did this was very charismatic. They came off as a leader. They had a good way with words. They may not have been the best looking person from C, but we'll dig more into that into question 4. But they had a good way of building camaraderie. I'm seeing this man gather a bunch of other men. I'm seeing someone like kind of lead the pack. Let's give me intel. What else can I see? Can we get more insight in the group effort? What that entailed? It took planning of where to hide it. It took them, excuse me, having to give alibis or something for if they were to be caught. It was a lot of effort put into after the fact to protect this man. So I feel like it's a group effort. One person may have done it, but you're helping with hiding the body, getting alibis, getting them off of it. Sounds like a group effort to me. It just sounds like everyone had different parts and different roles when it came to this. And what's the possible motive for this? Like I said, they look like a romantic couple. They were together. He was father figure, 5 of hearts. It looks like Dahlia was trying to move on from him and he did not like that. When I was doing research and reading into this, she came off as a bit of a drifter, a floater. They feel like she would use people's heartstrings and I guess emotional manipulation to get the help she needed. What I'm seeing here is heroin. I don't know if I can say that word here. It looks like there could have been some special ingredients that she loved and was hooked on. That is a mixture of this within both parties. But with this 5 of hearts, and as you can see, these hearts are going down, these 2 are going up. There was some, it was a crime of passion. And I actually hate that word because I don't want to call someone the murder of passion. It was a crime of controlling, of manipulation, of feeling entitled to someone when we have every right to end a relationship or a connection. It is what it is. Like, you can say what you want. Oh, I feel like this person gave me a whole PowerPoint. They need to give me all these reasons. They so long. At the end of the day, they can break up with you if they want to. We all have that right. Um, but this looks like it was that. It also looks like he was possibly skimming money from her, taking money on the back end. This is something that she found out, which is something that she was against. But I think their relationship was in secret because, like I said, it was shown that she was a drifter, but it seems like this was one of those stable things that he was often guiding her. But yeah, there was anger here. Anger at him possibly wanting more. He could have proposed to her. um, anger and control. All because she wanted to leave, or she didn't want to follow what he felt was best for her or them. It's really sad when women have to lose their life because someone decided if it was worth for them to live it or not in such a gruesome and disgusting way. All right, let's get insight on this person. So I want to see if I can get insight on the occupation, the personality, the physical attributes. Because I think that would be a lot of good insight and tell as to the person that could have done this, their so-called reasoning, and why the murder was so gruesome. Can we get insight on the killer? Occupation, personality, physical attributes. And again, I have my laptop here. I'm reading the questions that I have. When my nose is itching, I'm channeling, y'all. You know, when my nose itches, it means I am, channeling. And don't worry, I'm going to read the cards out that are coming out. All right. We have this Ten of Spades, Three of Diamonds, King of Spades, and Six of Hearts. Yep. So what I'm seeing here is, and then the Ten of Hearts at the bottom. And there's a reason it's at the bottom. What I'm seeing here is with this Ten of Spades, there was anger, slight depression, along with this that Dahlia was in. I think she was in a very depressive episode a lot of times when she was drifting. There could be some mental health here that was never diagnosed. I think there's a diagnosis here that was never done for her. You know, it was the 40s. It wasn't something that they were thinking of. And they're most likely locking people up and not actually giving them the help. And so a lot of times people like this, they have a big crew around them a lot of times, especially if they're in the industry where you can't really get insight on that. They're very protected. This Three of Diamonds, remember I mentioned something about money stealing, taken from the top. This Three of Diamonds is telling me that there's a lot of hands in a pot and Dahlia's hand was nowhere near it. And once Dahlia got word of this and understood it, she was trying to separate. And this was a lot of reason why she probably was a drifter. So what I'm seeing here is that there was financial issues. Maybe there was money that I keep seeing skimming from the top, and it wasn't like she was in the industry or anything. I think it was just she just wasn't being led right. Yeah. This King of Spades is showing me that, like I said, it was an authority figure, someone really smooth at talking, possibly could be a scammer. It could be someone that was lying about the occupation, which is why it's really hard for me to pull occupation information. I believe the person she was with was lying about their life, who they are. And when she found out, they reacted by killing her. Yeah. Because I saw something during my research, they thought the killer had a split personality. I don't even think it's a split personality. I think it was just a man lying and having a double life. And in this case, they're a psychopath. They could not stand the truth being pulled to their face. So they did the next best thing to them, and that was to murder her. With the Six of Hearts here, this is someone from her past. So this is someone that she has ran it before. It could have been a teacher. It could have been someone that was older than her that she was not in a relationship with, maybe from the army base. She did work at an army base. This was someone from the army. This was someone that she was in a previous relationship with. They lied about something. They lied about a life, living a double life, 10 of hearts. You remember I mentioned earlier there was a proposal or something turned down. They want to take it, but how can you do that when you're already married? Trying to manipulate her to stay in a relationship. That is... Sorry, y'all. I'm feeling chills. They were in the army. This is big. Let's get into personality and physical attributes. Every time I pictured it, I saw a man with his thick mustache. He had these cold, beady dark eyes, except he worked somewhere with data admin, someone that was often overlooked but very smart and capable and got her attention. Physical attributes, like, remember I said earlier, he probably was not that attractive. So I think that was part of those things. He had a scar on his hand or something from what I'm seeing. And maybe a bit something wrong with his speech. Probably spoke really slow, not for it to come out, but that's what I'm seeing here for those physical attributes. And this leads to my last question. Did the police do everything they can to find her? No. I just saw a big no. What I'm seeing here is it was coming to that they were looking for someone in the army, someone that could have been on the base, someone within that realm, and they did not want to dig deeper into that. They weren't allowed. So what I'm seeing here is they just kept hitting these dead ends until they got to the army trail. So it looks like the police or a detective, someone knew it had to do something with the army. Like, there was connecting with a previous job, a previous person, but she wasn't a perfect victim in their eyes. She was a bit shaky. She was a drifter. She didn't have much of a solid foundation, And so they're like, she could have been doing anything for all we know. Like, we don't know what she was doing. It could have been something that came towards her. And they didn't want to take that route because it would have turned from the trial being about this victim that was murdered horrendously to a trial on that victim and not about what happened to her. That's why the killer taunting is just such a nasty add-on. This person knew. They knew. I'm not going to be caught. They're not going to continue digging into this because it means there's so much other things to look into. We know what happens when we hear about murders, especially what has to do with that. Being very careful now. That stepped into something. But from my psychic reading and what I'm gathering, I believe this was someone that was in the army. Someone that wasn't all the way physically capable, but enough and had enough resources to carry out this murder, which is why it looks like it's a group effort. Other vets, other army folks join in, soldiers, whoever. And that is my psychic reading on the Black Dahlia case. Please tell me what you guys think. Do you have other case ideas in mind? I told you I prepped a few, but I have no problem looking at others. Thank you so much for watching this reading. Once again, I'm trying to reach 5,000 subscribers, so you can go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be very much appreciative of that. Thank you so much, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.